Meet Malone Lam, a 20-year-old Singaporean who pulled one of the craziest crypto heists in U.S. history. Overnight, he went from being a nobody to the main character after allegedly stealing millions in Bitcoin. And what did he do with all that money? He went on a spending spree that would make even the richest celebrities blush, dropping insane amounts of cash at LA nightclubs, gifting designer handbags worth tens of thousands, and collecting over 30 luxury cars. But how did he pull this off? Let's break it down. First, how did Lam even end up in the U.S.? He arrived in October 2023 under the Visa Waiver Program, which lets tourists stay for up to 90 days without a visa. But he overstayed. By the time he got caught, he'd been in the country for over a year. Court records show he had no permanent address, no job, and no legal status. Yet, he was living large, bouncing between Los Angeles and Miami, where he was eventually arrested. Now, let's break down the scam. This wasn't Lam's first attempt at running fraudulent schemes. Since at least August 2023, he had been working alongside his partner in crime, Jandil Serrano, to carry out various scams. Lam used online aliases like Anne Hathaway and Triple Dollar Sign, while Serrano went by names such as Versace God and Skidstar. Together, they specifically targeted a wealthy investor based in Washington, D.C., who had been deeply involved in the cryptocurrency world since its early days. This investor, who had significant experience and capital in crypto, became their main target. To keep things simple, we'll refer to this individual as the victim. The plan was smart and well thought out. Prosecutors called it sophisticated social engineering, which is just a fancy way of saying they tricked the victim into trusting them. Here's how it played out. A week before the theft on August 18, a third person sent the victim fake notifications claiming there was unauthorized access to their Google account. These alerts were designed to look real, using proxy and VPN services to make it appear as though the attacks were coming from other countries. Imagine getting constant warnings that someone is trying to hack your account. You'd be terrified, right? That's exactly the reaction they were hoping for. On August 18th, Lam and Serrano called the victim, pretending to be from Google's support team. They said his account was under attack and needed to be shut down. They convinced him to hand over his security codes. With that access, Lam allegedly got into the victim's OneDrive and Gmail, where he found records from the victim's Gemini crypto account. There are screenshots of conversations between Lam and Serrano as evidence, but they didn't stop there. To make it even more convincing, they called the victim again, this time pretending to be from Gemini's security team. They told him his accounts were compromised and convinced him to transfer about $3 million worth of crypto into a wallet controlled by Lam. They even got the victim to download a remote desktop program for security, which gave them real-time access to his computer. While Serrano stayed on the phone, Lam allegedly used the access keys to steal over 4,100 Bitcoin, worth more than $230 million at the time. Screen recordings show the step-by-step process, with Lam's Anne Hathaway and Serrano's Versace Gold aliases clearly visible. 17 minutes later, they immediately started to wash the stolen money. To make it harder for authorities to trace the cryptocurrency, they broke the Bitcoin into smaller chunks and spread it across 15 different exchanges using a method called peel chains. This tactic involved dividing large transactions into smaller ones to make tracking more difficult. They exchanged Bitcoin for Litecoin, Litecoin for Ethereum, and so on. The entire process lasted several days, with continuous swapping between different currencies and exchanges, making it even more challenging to follow the trail. After laundering the stolen funds, the group didn't hold back. They started planning their spending spree even before the theft, sharing links to luxury brands like Louis Vuitton and Givenchy on Telegram. While most of the group stayed under the radar, one member, Malone Lam, couldn't resist flaunting his newfound wealth. Malone, living in Los Angeles, went all out. He became a regular at high-end nightclubs, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on very important person tables and bottle service. Some nights, his tabs reached over $500,000. He'd throw money around like it was nothing, tipping thousands and gifting expensive bottles of champagne. His name lit up club screens, and DJs shouted him out, making him the center of attention. But LA wasn't enough for Malone. He rented a private jet and flew to Miami, where he moved into a $10.5 million waterfront mansion with a $62,000 monthly rent. The mansion had 10 bedrooms, a massive pool, and a garage filled with luxury cars. Malone's car collection included a black Mansory Ferrari SF90, a white Lamborghini Urus, a matte black Lamborghini Revuelto, a Porsche 911 GT3 RS, and many more. He also splurged on designer clothes, diamond-encrusted jewelry, and Richard Mille watches. Malone wasn't just about showing off, he was generous too. He bought 5 Birkin bags and gave them to random girls at clubs, including TikTok star Sky Bree, who later joked she didn't even like the bag. However, Malone's lavish spending caught the attention of authorities and blockchain experts. Investigators tracked his transactions, linking his purchases to the stolen funds. The group made mistakes, like leaking personal details and reusing wallet addresses, which made it easier for authorities to trace the money. By mid-September 2024, the FBI had enough evidence to act. They raided Malone's Miami mansion, arresting him surrounded by his luxury cars and designer goods. Authorities froze over $9 million of the stolen funds, with $500,000 returned to the victim. However, much of the money remains missing. The government seized Malone's assets, including cars, watches, and designer items, to auction them off and recover some of the stolen money. However, some cars were damaged, reducing their value. Money spent on clubs and private jets is gone for good, as these services aren't responsible for returning funds. Lam was charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering in a Florida district court on September 19. On November 14, he appeared in a Washington, D.C. court for a pre-trial hearing, where he requested a speedy trial, meaning the case can't be delayed indefinitely. Lam is currently in custody in Virginia and will return to court on January 9 for another pre-trial hearing. If convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison for each offense and could be fined up to $250,000 or twice the amount he gained from the scams. The 20-year-old who allegedly stole millions lived like a king and now faces the possibility of spending decades behind bars. Crazy, right? This story is a lesson in greed and the dangers of flaunting ill-gotten wealth. He could have just stayed under the radar, but he chose the opposite. Malone's dream life, built on stolen money, crumbled quickly. Despite the flashy cars, designer clothes, and wild nights, the law caught up with him. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, as I am on a journey to produce more content like this.